So we are now on chapter 10 of Beware Killer Tomatoes, How Not to Conduct an Investigation. Okay, I'm up. I can walk. Almost. Actually, it feels more like my leg has turned into a log and I'm hauling a large bit of tree trunk around. Paul, he's a physio, he says I'll soon get used to it. My mum said that about Christmas cake, I told him, and I still can't stand the stuff. I think you'll find a broken leg a little bit different from Christmas cake, he answered. He's given me lots of exercises to do to build up my leg muscles. It's almost like PE at school, except that Mrs. Fetlock isn't there to slave drive me. She's a maniac when it comes to PE. She joins in with everything, which is fine most of the time, but sometimes we have piggyback races. I'll leave it to your imagination. At least I'm back on my foot. I have to use crutches. Don't tell anyone, but they're quite fun once you get used to them. They're good for poking things. The other advantage is being allowed up. The other advantage to being allowed up is that I can wear ordinary clothes. Mum laughed when I got my favourite baggy jeans a few months ago, but they're brilliant if your leg's in plaster. Anyway, I'm out of my pyjamas at last. I feel so much more like a person, I suppose. Maybe that's why I don't like being in hospital. You end up feeling like an object, like something that has to be wrapped and unwrapped and cleaned and tidied and sorted. Next time your mum or dad says to you, time you're out of bed, come on, get up, just remember that you can actually do that. You can get up. Most people in hospital can't. It's been a great morning. When the doc had seen me, he left me sitting on my bed and went across to Kirsty and examined her chart. He went to her side and took her pulse. He pulled back her eyelids, shone a little torch in her pupils. He told her to stick out her tongue and say, ah. He walked round her bed and then took her pulse from the other arm. By this time, Princess Lala looked positively queasy. She was sure it was bad news. The doctor showed the chart to Tricia, pointed out something, and Tricia nodded gravely. They whispered together and Tricia raised her eyebrows. That is so terribly sad, she explained in a loud enough voice for everyone to hear. Kirsty almost collapsed on the spot. Her round eyes were fixed on the doctor. She slid right down into her bed, pulling the covers up to her chin as if she was trying to hide from the ghastly truth. What is it? What's wrong? The doctor took her hand, patted it gently, and gave her a pitying look and said, I'm afraid it's bad news. What is it? Well, according to your chart here, you're dead. Princess Lala sat bolt upright and gave an anguished wail. I'm dead, she began, and then stopped mid-word. She collapsed back against her pillow. You could almost hear the clickety-clack of her eyebrows as they knitted themselves into a furious frown. What's a horrible trick, she demanded. That's a horrible trick. How could you, she demanded. The doctor shrugged. I didn't, but someone has been tinkering with your chart. Look, the wiggly line here shows your temperature. You see where it changes colour? Someone has taken a pen and added an extra bit. So according to this, your temperature is up for 50 degrees centigrade. That means your blood would have boiled and you would probably have exploded. Very messy. The doctor eyed Liam and me. Very funny, and when I tell my colleagues, they'll laugh themselves silly. However, it was stupid and a dangerous thing to do. Never fiddle with these charts. They're for staff only. I don't want to know who did this. It doesn't matter. What does matter is that you understand how serious this might have been, and it won't happen again, will it? Liam and I mumbled our agreement, and he gave a nod. Good, that's the end of the matter. Just the one thing, nurse. Do you think you could resuscitate Kirsty? A glass of fruit juice should be sufficient. Everyone laughed except Princess Lala, who sat there looking like Mrs. Grumpy 2007. She folded her arms across her chest and her lower lip pouted so much you could almost stack books on it. Try and smile, Kirsty suggested the doctor. You should be relieved. As soon as the doc was gone, Prince Lala pushed back her covers and came straight over. It was you, wasn't it? She hissed. All I could do was point at my broken leg. How could I have possibly done it? Anyhow, I didn't care. I was going home. I was on my way, almost. Princess Lala went and accused Liam, but he told her he didn't have any pens or pencils. Besides, I'm dyslexic, he added for good measure. Kirsty was so cross she didn't even realise dyslexia had nothing to do with it. We might have easily have told her he had a pimple. She returned angrily to her bed, slumped on it, turned her back to us, and that was that. Liam looked cheerily across at me and raised his thumb. I gave him an uneasy smile. Seeing Princess Lala miserable all the time was unsettling. It must be horrible to have so many food allergies, and getting teased by Liam and me was hardly likely to cheer her up, even if she did seem to be asking for it. On the other hand, my heart was singing because I'm up and about today. Hooray! Maisie was quite impressed when she came wandering in with her mum. It's a miracle, I'm cured, I joked, and we all laughed, even Maisie's mum. Yes, I heard all about the miracle of Maisie's yesterday. I know you two have something to do together, but I want to pop in to say thank you. What for? For getting Maisie talking. I didn't do anything, I said. You were the only person she's spoken to in almost a year. She says you told her something that got her talking. What on earth was it? Good grief, the body beneath the tins. Maisie had told her mum. Sweat broke out on my brow. I started to panic and glanced accusingly at Maisie, but she was shaking her head and mouthing no at me. My heart decided to stop thundering along like a racehorse and return to normal. Don't think I can remember, I said, and I tried to change the subject. Look, I've got crutches. Liam reckons I should stick go faster stripes on them. You're an idiot, Maisie said, and her mother drew in a breath deeply. Maisie, don't say such things. I looked at her sympathetically. I'm afraid Maisie's right. I called across the road. Hey, Liam, you're an idiot, aren't you? Of course I am, he answered. Grade A, got a certificate and everything. Maisie's mum laughed and said that she thought we were probably all idiots on this ward, except for that girl over there. She's very quiet. That's Kirsty, I murmured. She does look poorly, Maisie's mum said sympathetically. Maisie rolled her eyes. Of course she looks poorly, Mum. That's why she's in hospital. She hasn't come for a holiday. I couldn't help laughing, and fortunately Maisie's mum joined in. I still can't get used to you talking, Maisie, she said. It's so wonderful. Get off, said Maisie, trying to escape a hug, but I could see she was pleased, really. Jack has got some school stuff to do, and I said I'd help him, and you've got to go and see that physio, psycho, what's-it person upstairs. So I'll see you back here in about half an hour or so. Okay, said Mum, and I wondered who was in charge of who. As soon as her mother had disappeared, Maisie and I got down to business. First stop, casualty. I explained my plans as I went. Let me ask the questions. What do I do? Maisie demanded. Follow my lead, and if you think of any good questions, then you can ask. Walking to casualty, my first real outing since getting back on my feet, and I felt quite proud of myself. Maisie went ahead, opening doors for me. We had to go down lots of long corridors. Some were flat and some were sloping so that the wheelchairs and beds could be pushed around without any problem. There was a long ramp up to casualty, which was a bit like conquering Everest, but I made it. A wheelchair was parked right outside the door, and I tried to get past. I got the end of one crutch caught in the side of the chair and then stuck in the spokes. Finally, when I had a third go, it plonked itself on the foot brake. Fiddly things, crutches. They take a bit of getting used to, I can tell you. Casualty wasn't at all like my ward. It was busy, with loads of people waiting to be examined or have x-rays and so on. I even saw a kid with a teaspoon stuck up one nostril. Made me feel quite normal. Maybe I wasn't so clumsy after all. There was no way I'd be so stupid as to get a teaspoon stuck up my nose. We went across to reception to see if it was all right to ask some questions for my project, in between them dealing with patients, and the nurse said she'd do her best and asked what it was about. I'm doing a bar chart on admissions, I explained. I need some figures. The hospital teacher, Miss Crispin, told me she would find out numbers for a particular day, and we've chosen the day I was admitted, September the 6th. How many people came in that day? The nurse searched the computer, 93, but they're not all admitted to hospital. Most of them get treated and then go home. Well, how many were admitted? I asked. 25. How many had broken bones? Oh, goodness, this is a lot of questions. 13 suspected broken bones. How many were dead? Maisie demanded eagerly. And there was a rustling noise as several people in the waiting area put their newspapers down and faces swiveled in our direction. Dead? Repeated the nurse. Yes, I bet you had some dead bodies. I don't think we need to discuss that. Maisie wasn't happy. We do. Jack and I need to know. The waiting room was all ears now, and Maisie was determined to find out more. I think we should be told. You must get dead bodies sometimes. What do you do with them? Do you have a bonfire? The nurse was horrified. Really, I'm sorry, I don't think I can. You must, interrupted Maisie. I bet someone was brought in on September the 6th and they died. Maybe there'd been an incident, like tomato-related incident, she hinted. I think you'd better stop, said the nurse coldly. But now some of the patients have joined in. What's this about bonfires for the dead? Asked an old lady. That's dreadful, that is. I wouldn't have come here if I'd have known that you had bonfires. We don't, insisted the nurse. It's this girl here. She's... Fancy blaming a sweet child like this, blustered the old lady. Goodness gracious, what is this world coming to? Well, I can tell you something, she added, almost stabbing the nurse with an accusatory finger. I'm not stopping here, just so I end up on a bonfire. I'm going to take my blister somewhere else, so put that in your pipe and smoke it. That's a sword, I love that saying. The old woman barged off towards the door, calling out to the remaining patients as she went, I'd get out of here if I were you before you all end up in one of their flaming conflagrations. We're going, muttered several patients. I don't want a conflagration, do you? Last time I was in here, I had an injection. That was bad enough. I'm not staying for no conflagration. It's we, stuttered the receptionist. Come back. There aren't any bonfires. There isn't a problem. But nobody was listening to her, and the exodus continued. The nurse glared at Maisie. Do you see what you've done? She cried. It's not my fault. We just need an answer to our questions. How many people got crushed on the September the 6th? I started to pull her away from the desk and she yelled back at the nurse. Go on, tell us. I bet someone got crushed. Maybe a tomato fell. I clamped my hand over her mouth. Shut up. Leave it. I tried to hurry her out of casualty. As we reached the door, it was flung open and a doctor staggered in, clutching his head. There was a large gash on the forehead. He pushed past us and I heard the nurse exclaim, Dr. Guptal, what on earth happened to your head? I was mown down by a runaway wheelchair, he snapped back. It came hurtling down the ramp out of there and knocked me flying. Someone must have left the brake off. I hurried after Maisie. Oh dear. Jack's obviously hurting everyone, isn't he, at the moment? Knocked a doctor down with that rogue wheelchair. All right then, guys, back into class and we will see what we're doing today. Bye.